No one remembered my birthday again. A few days later, my dad forwarded me an invoice for my cousin's engagement party. Your share, $2,400. I sent back $2 and a screenshot, removed from the shared account, then I froze every card they reported fraud. The bank asked, "Did you authorize this shutdown?" I smiled and replied. It wasn't just disappointing, it was infuriating. I turned 29 last week. I didn't expect a cake or a parade, just a simple text would have been enough. Hey, happy birthday, something. But I got nothing. No call from my parents, no messages from my sisters, not even one of those generic Facebook posts people fire off without thinking. Not a word. It was the second year in a row they forgot. The year before, I chalked it up to bad timing. My cousin Jenna got engaged, and everyone was obsessed with planning her party. I let it slide. I shouldn't have. 3 days after my birthday, I opened my email during lunch and saw one from my dad. No subject line, just an attachment. It was a PDF invoice for Jenna's engagement party. The full cost, venue, catering, photography, centerpieces, valet, totaled a little over $16,000. At the bottom, in bold red font, it said your share, $2,400. No greeting, no explanation, just a forwarded invoice and 2 words underneath it, your share. I stared at the screen for a while. I wasn't even mad at first, just numb. Then it hit me, the same people who couldn't be bothered to say happy birthday were asking me for nearly $2,500 to celebrate someone else's happiness. I laughed, then I opened my banking app, transferred $2 from the shared account back to myself, took a screenshot, and replied with that image in one sentence, removed from shared account. Then I went further. I logged into every bank account I had, checking, savings, credit cards, and froze every card I'd given them access to over the years. Cards my dad used to fill up his truck, a card my mom used for groceries, 2 emergency cards my sisters used just in case while they were away at school. Done, locked, cancelled. I didn't even hesitate. About an hour later, I started getting the calls. 6 missed calls from my dad, 4 from my mom. Even Jenna tried to reach me. Then my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize, my bank. The rep on the line said they'd received fraud claims about unauthorized freezes on the accounts. She asked very calmly, "Did you authorize these actions yourself?" I said, "Yes, every single one." That was the first time in a long while I actually smiled. The fallout was immediate. My mom texted me a long message trying to guilt trip me about family unity and how this isn't like you. My dad was more direct. He left a voicemail saying I was being dramatic and that this isn't how we solve things. Not a single one of them mentioned my birthday. Still, I ignored every message. The next day, Jenna called and actually had the audacity to say, "You're making things difficult for everyone." This is a big moment for me. I almost responded, almost. But I just put my phone on silent and watched the messages pile up. That night, I started going through all the transactions from the past year. I couldn't believe how many random charges were tied to me. A streaming service I didn't recognize that was my uncle. My sister had been using my Uber account on the other side of the country. My mom had linked a clothing subscription service. I spent hours shutting everything down. I thought maybe someone would finally realize how messed up it all was. Maybe they'd call and say sorry, or even just acknowledge what they'd done. But no. The next day, my mom sent me another message. "We need to talk. You're hurting the family." Not one of them asked me how I felt, not one asked why I did it. They were just upset they lost access to me, to my money, really. But I was done being useful, done pretending things were okay just to keep the peace. This wasn't peace, it was exploitation, and they were about to learn what it felt like to lose their safety net. By the end of the week, the whole family was in panic mode. I stopped answering texts, calls, emails, all of it. My dad sent one last message saying we were having a family meeting at the house on Sunday and that I was expected to come, not invited, expected. I wasn't planning to go, honestly, but curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to hear what kind of mental gymnastics they'd pulled to justify everything. Plus, I figured if they wanted to corner me into guilt, they'd have to look me in the eye while doing it. When I pulled up to the house, there were already 4 cars in the driveway. I walked in and found everyone in the living room, my parents, my uncle, Jenna and her fiancé, even my aunt who usually doesn't get involved in drama. And surprisingly, my 2 sisters were there, Emily and Claire, both supposed to be out of state at college. I hadn't seen them in months. They didn't say hi when I walked in, just stared at me like they didn't know what side to be on. The whole thing started with my dad saying they were concerned about my behavior and disappointed in the way I handled things. My mom tried to smooth it out, saying things had gotten out of hand but could be fixed if I just reversed the shutdown. I didn't say anything, just waited. Jenna jumped in, going on about how her engagement party was falling apart and how I was making a statement out of something that should have been private. I think she expected sympathy. I just stared at her. Then my uncle chimed in, trying to act like the voice of reason. He said, "I don't think anyone meant to hurt you, Tom, but you've hurt a lot of people with this stunt." That word stunt said something off. I turned to Claire and asked, "Did you know they forgot my birthday last week?" She opened her mouth, hesitated, then said something that blew the whole thing open. "Oh, they didn't forget. Mom just said we'd celebrate later when Jenna's party was over." She didn't want to take attention away. The room went quiet. My mom looked like she'd swallowed a nail. Emily added, "Yeah, she even told us not to post anything online so it wouldn't seem like we were ignoring Jenna." It was one of those moments when the truth slipped out because someone didn't realize it wasn't supposed to be said. I looked at my mom, then my dad. No one said a word. I stood up. "So not only did you ignore it, you actually made sure no one said anything because it would mess with Jenna's spotlight." My dad started to speak, but I cut him off. I told them I wasn't their bank, I wasn't their background character, and I wasn't coming back to this house if the only time they reached out was when they needed something. Then I looked at my sisters. I've been sending each of you $1,000 a month for 2 years. That ends now. Emily started to say something, but I didn't let her finish. I just walked out. I thought they tried to chase after me, maybe they'd call the next day, maybe even apologize. But they didn't. And I wasn't done yet. After that disaster of a family meeting, the silence was different, not peaceful, just a lull before something worse. No apologies came, no explanations, just the type of quiet that makes it obvious they were regrouping behind my back. 3 days later, I got a long email from my dad. It opened like a work memo.